Howdy, folks from all different strokes, whether you're gay, straight, or queer, it's all accepted here. Transmitting video signals from 880.4 miles away, we have the beautiful, lovely, creative, emo icon, Adam Demirjian. And this is a note to the editor. Please put in air horns after that.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Everyone say hi, Adam. All right. Hell yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Cool. Well, I guess we will begin with the most basic question of all. Who the hell are you, Adam?
Who the hell am I? My name is Adam Demirjian, and I am a 29-year-old musician currently residing in Roslindale, Massachusetts, a suburb right outside of Boston. I play guitar, sing, and songwrite in a band called Me and Capris. And before that, I played guitar, sang, and song wrote, and did other things in a band called Brave Little Abacus. That's me.
That's you. That's Adam. And I guess another basic question we can ask is who would you say, in a very broad scope of things, has influenced you the most in your musical career?
I would say the single biggest influence in my career has been, and I feel very fortunate and lucky to say this, have been my peers, have been the people I've had the opportunity to collaborate with, play with, a lot of people whose music I adore, who I was able to do things with, or even just on look, but call friends. I don't think that there's any chance that I would be the musician that I am or the artist that I am if it wasn't for them. And I always feel very fortunate for that because that's really important to me. I'm not a very solipsistic artist. I'm like a collaborator, like have a great time with a lot of people art guy. Yeah, that's the single biggest influence, I would say.
Hell yeah, that's a very pop punk answer. Gotta rely on your friends, And when would you say, like, at what age or what point in your life did you really become interested in music and becoming a musician?
Well, it's kind of funny because I only really ever wanted to be like a couple of different things, for my life or whatever, dating back to a pretty young age. When I was really little, I saw Star Wars and I wanted to be an astronaut. But here's the thing about that. That was thinking that being an astronaut was like being Han Solo and like falling in love with Carrie Fisher and flying the Millennium Falcon and hanging out all the time. So that was like gone pretty fast. And then at a really young age, I decided, my parents thought this was really funny because I would say it to like family friends. I wanted to be on SNL. I was just like, I want to be on SNL because at a certain point, you start making, not everyone, but some people, you start making people laugh at school or whatnot. And, you watch something like SNL and it's just like, I love, making people laugh and I love like doing that. So I'll just be Adam Sandler. Like, that's what I'll just do with my life. And then I played like piano and alto saxophone and some other things, but when I picked up guitar in, I don't know, 3rd, 4th grade, it was like, it came pretty fast. And the funny thing is, at a really young age, I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I was getting pretty good at the guitar. Like I had really rewarding experiences. It was never frustrating to me. It was always very exciting. But that being said, I never thought of forming a band. Like, it never occurred to me that I could do that. I jammed with, like, one person when I was, like, 10, and they were like, what do you want to sound like? And I was like, I want to sound like Higher Ground by Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like, that's what I want. And they were just like, what? Because I was just, like, obsessed with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I love that song, and I still love that cover so much, but they were just like, yeah, like, I don't know. They were like, what else? And I think I had just heard Relationship of Command by At the Drive-In, So I think I showed them a track off that. I think the opener, like Arc Arsenal or whatever, and they were just like, like when like like the screaming started.
Yeah.
But anywho, to make a long story short, I decided that I was going to be a career musician when I would have been 13 years old, and it was the summer after eighth grade, and I jammed with Andrew Ryan, who played bass in Brave Little Abacus. And he convinced me that like I could write songs, like I should write my own songs. And at that point I was like a functional musician. Like I could play the guitar, I could play piano, I could play the drums, but I hadn't even really dreamed of like forming a band and then playing my songs. And the combination of that and ska basically told me that I could do it, and I've basically been doing the same thing ever since.
Hell yeah. That's a pretty solid story, I'd say.
Yeah, that's the condensed version.
For sure. Ska brings everything together.
Did for me.
See. And what do you up to these days? I think the last that we really heard from an Adam Demirjian project was with the Me and Capri album last, I believe, or EP.
Yeah, I was so Me and Capri's has the EP For Those Who Think You. I also was playing drums with a band out of Boston called Lilith, who released their debut LP called Safer Off. I was very fortunate to be a part of that and play with them for a couple of years. They're still a band. I stopped playing with them 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, a little bit ago, just not being able to do the two band thing. But yeah, Me and Capris is still going strong. We all live together, so we've been really fortunate, even given the pandemic and all the changes that the last year has had. We're still able to record and rehearse and work on new material. So that's really my main thing. Doing that and working on like solo productions. I DJ a lot, which sadly the pandemic has really put a damper on, but I was able to do a few DJ live streams that were fun, but that it's just not the same. But yeah, just doing that.
Hell yeah, just going through it. Well, what would you say, and once again, this is just coming from my documents. Word on the street is you're a pretty heavy fan of professional wrestling. What would you say your favorite wrestler is?
Yeah, I'm wearing a New Japan hat. That's what that was. A custom New Japan hat. Current favorite wrestler is, I'm on a huge early 90s All Japan women's kick, and so my current favorite is Manami Toyota, who is probably one of the greatest of all time. And yeah, I've just been completely obsessed with 1992 to 1998 All Japan women's wrestling, to the point that like someone would think I was on a sabbatical writing a book about it. Like you would think I was getting paid like a salary to intake the amount of 30-year-old Japanese wrestling that I've been intaking. But I'm just that obsessed right now. And shout out to my friend, one of my only online friends, Ethan, who I DM almost daily about wrestling. So glad that Ethan and I are able to always do that, and one day we will meet in person. But, so that being said, quick pivot, just because I think it has to be said, my favorite current non-retired active wrestler is, without a doubt, Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks, okay. Honestly, it's nice to just hear people say something besides Kenny Omega at this point.
Kenny's fine. Kenny's just fine. Like, I know he's great, but like I think Sasha's one of the most important entertainers in the world right now. Definitely. Like even outside of like professional wrestling.
She's such a good performer. Like I remember her match with Bianca Belair at this year's WrestleMania was absolutely baller. It was a great match.
Amazing. Yeah.
And what would you say your favorite promotion of all time would have to be? if you can choose one, of course.
I mean, at the end of the day, because so many of my favorite professional wrestlers are most associated with it, it's the WWE. I don't think that they're the best promotion, without a doubt, but like, I'm a Bret Hart guy. Like, I'm a CM Punk guy. I'm a Four Horsewomen guy. Like, so it's tough. You know, I love what AEW is doing. I love vintage All Japan. I love early ECW. But at the end of the day, like, I'm just a mark for like the WWE. Like, you know, I throw Royal Rumble and WrestleMania like parties basically for just me and my roommates.
Hell yeah.
I'm a mark.
Definitely. And I would have to probably agree. I mean, I don't know. As awful as the WWE can kind of be, and as many terrible segments as they've had, I don't know. They're kind of the reason that I would say wrestling's still as huge as it is, even though it is dwindling.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, that is an aspect. But yeah, what kind of era were you, I guess, mostly getting into wrestling at whenever you were?
I'm a total late bloomer. I was not a wrestling kid. I was in the right place at the right time, where like I should have. You would think in like 1998, 1999, I was like obsessed with like Stone Cold Steve Austin and like the Attitude Era. I really wasn't, and I liked Dragon Ball Z and Final Fantasy VII and the Mighty Mighty Boss Stones, and like, I don't know, like that's what I liked. But I mean, I will say it was tough because where I grew up, and I'm sure a lot of people feel this way as well, is I kind of associated professional wrestling with the kids who were like the meanest to me, like kids who really like, bullied the absolute heck out of me on the school bus. Either were wearing like a Stone Cold shirt or like a Korn shirt, so yeah, it just like didn't happen for me. And then over time, nothing ever really hit. And then a good friend of mine, an amazing musician, amazing friend, Mike Campbell, who plays with Laura Stevenson. They're married. They have a beautiful family. They're my heroes. I love them. Million and a half shout outs forever to them. It was really Mike Mike was into it, and I always get the year wrong of when it was. I guess like maybe 2015, maybe early 2016. But what happened was I just started to go back and to watch like, quote unquote, like important stuff. It was like early things were like watching WrestleMania 13, like Bret Hart versus Steve Austin, and being like starting to get into the psychology, into the storytelling. And then I got obsessed with the Montreal Screwjob. Like I would stay up all night reading everything I could about the Montreal Screwjob. And then it was like, it was right around the time that Punk had retired or like left, so there was all that drama, and I was like, this is amazing, it's all in real time. Anywho, I'm going way too hard into this question.
No, but that's perfectly fine. That's what I was hoping for, Adam.
It was late, and it has defined how I look at like art and performance in like a huge portion of my 20s. It's it's a big part of like what I do and how I do it now, and it's wild. It's a wild thing. But once you're in, you're in. That's the thing.
It's very true.
I'm sure you know. Yeah.
Hell yeah. And is my mic volume good, chat? I'm sure they'll answer it at some point. But yeah, you have any more shout outs or anything you'd like to give out before we continue on with this wonderful interview?
No. I'm ready. I'm
ready.
Here. I'm
all
ready.
Right. Knuckles cracked. He's ready. All right, let's start with the hardball. What led to the formation of Eggplant Dance-Off?
Hell yeah, Eggplant Dance-Off, my first band. What led to the formation of Eggplant Dance-Off was Andrew Ryan telling me in the summer of 2005 that we should play music together. Andrew was just a kid from the neighborhood who was a grade above me, and we had interacted in elementary school and definitely thought each other were like funny. We had done this thing called Destination Imagination together. I don't know if every state has that. It
I
used
don't
to
know
be
what
called
that is specifically.
it used to be called Odyssey of the Mind, and then they changed the name to Destination Imagination. But it's just like kids form these groups and have to like complete an extracurricular project for like the course of a school year, and then they go to a big competition.
Okay.
It's like a very funny, like let's get the quirky kids and see if they can like make weird shit. So yeah, just to like, I don't know, for all the like the BLA heads out there, they might appreciate when I was in the 3rd grade and Andrew was in the 4th grade, we were in a Destination Imagination group that needed to make like a miniature amusement park. And so we made something called the Fruit Roller Coaster.
Nice.
But we got pretty uninvolved with the project at a certain point because we would just like do bits together. So when it came time to do the competition, like all the smarter kids in our group presented the miniature roller coaster while we just like had fake beards on and played bongos.
Nice.
Like that's like all we did. So yeah, years later, summer after my 8th grade, summer after Andrew's freshman year of high school, he knew that I was playing the guitar. I knew that he played the drums and other instruments, and he was just like, we should jam, like we should get together. And the reality was he basically just opened a massive door for me because I played music with him, and then he introduced me to like an all ages like community space in New Hampshire called the Stad Cafe that was pretty legendary, and they had a ska show on every Sunday. Every single Sunday they had a local ska show.
That's amazing. Also, thank you, Austin Powers, for gifting the sub to Happiness Jones. You're a real Chad. But yeah, no, that's fucking dope. What would you say, you know, and this was probably around 2005 or 2006 when Eggplant Dance Off was getting started?
Yeah, it was the summer of 2005, and yeah, that's when it started.
Okay, and I mean, what eventually would lead to the demise?
Well, Eggplant Dance Off was a strange project because there was only one member of it that actually had ever been in another band, like another real band, which was Cody LaPlante, who, you know, one of my like closest and oldest friends, was in a band called the Free Refills that I also played with for a minute, who were this amazing another ska band from like down the street. But no one in our peer group had any sense of like what you do with a band. Mm-hmm. So Eggplant Dance Off would just like play all these shows to our friends, and because the family like all ages venue that we played at, they'd record your sets. Those were our CDs. Like the only recordings that existed for like 2 years were like these live sets, and then we would just burn them onto CDRs and sell them for $1. What really ended Eggplant Dance Off was, the way I always kind of describe it is, you know, a couple years into it, by the time I'm like 15 years old, I have gone to some bigger shows. I've started to meet some people who do band things a little bit more seriously. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of like, oh, I think I want to be in a band that like tries to make like an album. Or like, I think I want to be in a band that like tours. Yeah, and those were all concepts that were like very new to me. So Eggplant Dance Off did attempt to make a record. We had a ska opera concept record called Z905 that never got finished. But the tracks do exist. People have dug them up. They're out there. But the last summer that Eggplant Dance Off was a band, we were recording that with my guitar teacher at the time, and it was just a lot of work, and it wasn't really going super well. So that's how it ended. It was just like, I don't think we should do this.
Damn. Well, I mean, at least that would eventually lead into Brave Little Abacus, considering you and Andrew would be in a band together once more.
Yeah.
And how did Brave Little Abacus, how'd that concept kind of come along?
It hilariously came directly out of Eggplant Dance Off because Zach Kellionette, who played keyboards in Brave Abacus also played keyboards for the last year in Eggplant Dance Off. So it was quite literally, sadly, Eggplant Dance Off didn't really break up. It's almost like a bunch of people got kicked out and it became Brave Abacus.
And that's fair. And I mean, of course, the whole association with Brave Little Abacus, there's a big theory that the name came from the Brave Little Toaster.
It definitely did.
And you just replaced Toaster with Abacus, which I thought was a very interesting little story. And at the time, were you guys intentionally trying to fall into the emo genre at all? Considering that BLA is one of those, pinnacle bands from the emo revival, the Midwest emo revival specifically.
Definitely not the formation. I mean, we don't have to go down the emo rabbit hole. I mean, we can go wherever we want to go, I guess. But like, so the song "The Buffalo," that's the first ever song that Brave Little Abacus ever made. Like, it's literally like the first song it ever made. And like, I mean, I don't know what the fuck to call that song. Like, if I had to give like an aesthetic or like a stylized like name to that song, I don't know what the fuck it would be. It definitely wouldn't be emo. Like, it opens with the power, like the powering on sound of a Game Boy, and then Andrew like shrieking into a microphone as a count off, and then it ends with like a weird electro jam that was just made on like a single keyboard. I don't know. And also I thought like the chorus sounded like Sigur Rós or something like at the time.
That's fair.
So no, we weren't. We were the summer that Brave Little Abacus formed, Andrew and I were obsessed with the Flaming Lips, particularly Clouds Taste Metallic and Zyreka and the Soft Bulletin. And we were obsessed with They Might Be Giants, like the first 4 They Might Be Giants records. And that's why we didn't find a drummer.
That's
because
fair.
Between both of those influences, at certain times, both They Might Be Giants and Flaming Lips used backing tracks, and that's what inspired us to use backing tracks.
That's dope as hell. And yeah, I can definitely see with those influences of the time not really being what you would consider emo. It's just very interesting how you guys kind of get looped into all that. Probably more so, I would say, because of Masked Dancers and Discomfort. But
for
Demo,
sure.
I don't know. El Capitano is a grade A song, classic song.
That's my favorite. That's
Same.
my favorite. That's that song. I was super stoked when we made it, and I listened to that song the other day actually, and I was just like, I'm super stoked that got made. I like that song.
It's a great song.
Thanks.
And throughout this time, you've got to do a lot of things in Brave Little Abacus. How did you meet Jeff Rosenstock?
I met Jeff in spring of 2009. I think March of 2009. They did Bomb Music Industry did a Scrambles release show in Boston. I think they did a couple of different Scrambles release shows. And there was one that happened to be in Boston. And at the time, I was playing bass with a really cool band called Interrobang, like a ska punk band. Oh, yeah. And we opened that show, and Jeff really took an interest in producing Interrobang's next record, which ended up being an album called For John by Interrobang, which was co-produced between Jeff and Steve Foote, who played bass in Big D and the Kids Table.
Oh yeah.
And so I met Jeff that day at that show, and then proceeded to form a friendship with him while making that record, because he was there, and I ended up tracking bass, 7-string guitar, some 6-string guitar, and some keys on that. But yeah, I had been listening to Bomb at that point since 2006, I want to say. I think that was when I first started listening to Bomb. So I heard "Ceases to Be Whining" on MySpace, and I lost it. I lost my fucking mind. It was actually at a free refills practice, to throw back to that other ska band from New Hampshire. I was at a free refills rehearsal, and the drummer of that band showed me "Ceases to Be Whining." I think that would have been 2006, maybe really early 2007, and I freaked the fuck out. So I was very very nervous to be making music in a room with Jeff. I remember I was very underage, drank a lot of Miller High Lifes, and said a lot of things about "Goodbye Cool World." Woke up the next day very embarrassed, but it's all good.
It's all good. Nobody cared.
I was also like fucking like 18 years old.
Hell yeah.
So like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
And how would you describe your relationship with quote unquote?
Quote unquote was extremely important to the Brave Little Abacus in terms of like music discovery and a sense of a community that was like a it was just like a dream. Like you couldn't possibly achieve being a part of a community as cool as Bomb the Music Industry, Laura Stevenson, Andrew Jackson Jihad. At the time, I feel like the not the first Sidekicks record, but the Weight of Air was, I believe, on quote unquote, at least at some point. Sorry, now I'm just trying to remember records in quote unquote, but really it was it was like a total dream, and something that I think really gets lost in the Brave Little Abacus story is that we did have the goal of having a release on quote unquote, and it was a dream that we shared, and it really can't be overstated how insane it was when we did. It was crazy.
Hell yeah, that's cool as hell. And I guess this is kind of a bit of a 90-degree angle. I was gonna say a 180-degree turn, but that's besides
Take me there. Take me on the turn. Spin me around a bit.
We're gonna get talking about the technical aspects of Brave Little Abacus. I mean, did you have any specific inspirations in terms of storytelling at the time? I mean, mostly just because, you know, the Brave Little Abacus songs always had very interesting concepts and lyrical narratives.
I don't think that I had like a super strong vision. I think I was really fortunate to be like surrounded by people who really believed in a freedom of expression, and people who were either doing poetry or playwriting or improvisational music. And I think that had a really profound effect on my, while I was in Brave Little Abacus, not feeling self-conscious about saying exactly what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Even when it maybe wasn't the most sensical thing, or maybe it was like the first thing that came to mind. There's not a lot of editing of any sort in the Brave Little Abacus, certainly not in the lyrics department. Very single stream of consciousness, like, and they weren't improvised, they were written. I would never like claim to have just like sang them, but I can remember the feeling of just really going for it. And I think that primarily came from just being around people who were making art that way, who weren't like, their concerns weren't commercial, and their concerns were all about authenticity. So I think I ran with that really hard.
Oh yeah, and I would definitely say that paid off. Tons of great moments in Brave Little Abacus songs. Got the classic line, "When I say I'm sad, I mean it." classic shit right there, Adam. Or I've got to ask, what Tom Petty songs would your dad meow to you?
He definitely did The Waiting and Free Fallin'. There was this joke. I don't know if it was from a movie or something, but Andrew and my dad used to do this joke that was like they called it machine gun meow, and they would like pretend they were holding like a gun, and they would go like and that was like a big thing at like a Brave Little Abacus practice. Like my parents, like, because we were in like the basement of my parents' house, and then we'd come upstairs and Arthur, my dad, just being like but I feel like he definitely like was just like I remember the sound of him doing Free Fallin'. I mean, I'm gonna make him sound like he was always in a bit, but it was just like him being funny. Like he was just being funny. Like I could, because like Free Fallin's good because literally you can just do like meow 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 meow. Like it sounds like a cat. It sounds like a cat, and like we were not a cat family. Like I'm allergic to cats. My mom's allergic to cats. Like I don't know why meowing shit became like a thing, but yeah, that lyric is just a real thing.
Yeah. Hell yeah, that's classic. And who were some of your favorite bands around the time that you were in Brave Little Abacus? I guess away from the formation, not the Flaming Lips answer we kind of got earlier.
I feel like I've said this in every interview, but it's just the truth. At the time of especially like Just Got Back, I was obsessed with Bomb Music Industry. I was obsessed with Whip Smart by Liz Phair. I was obsessed with The Ugly Organ by Cursive. Sirens by On the Might of Princes. Arthur Carr by Lantedum. Around that time, we had just started seeing Laura Stevenson, so I had all the first Laura Stevenson 7-inches and the record, so like the Holy Ghost 7-inch, like so formative. And then Zach was listening to so much classical music. He was experimenting with microtones, listening to this composer named Alois Abba. That was like a huge inspiration for what he was bringing to the table. We also had all just heard My Bloody Valentine for the first time. Like I was just having this conversation the other day with a friend, but Matt Aspinwall always knew that Pile No Pile Pile was just a fucking ripoff of Only Shallow by My Bloody Valentine. And not like a ripoff in that like it's the same song, but he knew what I was trying to do. Like why, you know what I mean? He knew what I was trying to like, what I wanted it to sound like. And we were just laughing because I was just like, everybody else thinks it's like an emo record. It's like like I totally had just heard Loveless for the first time and was just like, I think there was even a moment where Just Got Back we might have been like, I think it should start with a snare fill, like pop 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 pop. And then we were like, oh, don't do that.
Honestly, that's cool as hell, though. I can definitely see a little bit of the similarities when you point it out like that. But at the same time, I just fucking can't either.
Yeah, no, it's not real. It's not real. It's only like in my head, but like it's just the reality of like,
going for something as kind of big.
I mean, that's like just real side note. Like the other huge mysterious influence of BLA is Deftones.
Okay.
Like that's why like I got a 7-string. Like that's why like there's 7-string on Masked Dancers and on Just Got Back, because I was obsessed with Deftones. But like
you can't.
You say that to someone and people are like, I don't fucking get like what you're talking about. Same with Refused. Like we were wicked into Refused. I even reference Refused. Like I reference them in a song, but like fucking Brave Little Abacus didn't sound anything like Refused. Like,
maybe it was the amalgamation of all those different influences coming together to kind of create something as unique as Brave Little Abacus really was. I mean, that's kind of the interesting part about your guys' music in general was if you go from, each EP or album to each album, like Demo sounds nothing like Masked Dancers, really. Masked Dancers sounds nothing like Discomfort. Discomfort sounds nothing like... and nobody's ever said this name, so I don't know how to say it, but Okume? Is that how you say it?
I always say ukume, but like, yeah,
Okume.
okume, like anything, yeah.
Oh yeah. And how long were the writing and recording processes for Mass Dancers and Discomfort?
Wildly short.
Wow.
I don't know how those kids did it. I can't seem to get a grip on that at 29 years old nowadays. Yeah, we made like the demo was made between like those four tracks were like written and recorded between like September and November, and then the split with Matt was done. I don't know, maybe from like in April to like July,
Okay.
and released in August. And that was like while we were in school and then kind of in summer. That one's always confusing to me because I also was making the like Matt's side. Like that's Matt Aspinwall's side of that split is him and I.
Yeah.
So I get confused on like how long that took. Mass Dancers took like a full school year. That was like my senior year of high school, basically,
Okay.
a little bit into the summer. And then Just Got Back was a little bit, that's the longest one,
Mhm.
but that's only because Just Got Back's the first Brave Little Abacus record that like I spent more time writing than
Okay.
we did recording it.
Hell yeah.
But they were all really fast. It's
For sure.
insane. Like that band only existed for like 5 years or 4 years. It's insanity.
For sure. I mean, and then of course 2 years later we would have Okume. Was was Okume supposed to be kind of a swan song? Did you realize at the time that it would kind of be the last that we would hear from Brave Little Abacus from a release standpoint?
Yeah, well, we had decided to break up, like while we were making Ukume. It was like we knew, like the writing was on the wall. Like, had we not known we were breaking up, I bet Ukume would have been like an LP. I bet it would have been a bigger project.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, let's just get the thing done. And then the other thing that's really interesting to me looking back about Ukume is that the combination of knowing that we were breaking up and our friends who formed a record label called Cat Dead Details Later, they were like, we really want to put a Brave Little Abacus out on wax, but like we're never going to be able to afford anything more than a 7-inch. So you have to like, I literally remember them saying, you have to write shorter songs.
Wow.
Like they were like, like if you want to put out a record, like you have to shorten the songs. You probably only do 3, and then simultaneously Jeff being like, listen, I want to host it on quote unquote as well. So we just went for it, and that one's really special to me. But it definitely is. It's definitely more of a product of its context than the rest of them, because the rest of them don't have any boundaries. Like Just Got Back is 3 kids making this like pretty wacky record that they just put on the internet. But Ukume was like, we got to make sure that it sounds good on the 7-inch, and like, you know what I mean, and it's got to be like the song's got to be tighter. Like, so I remember the feeling of I think it was Don't Come Around Here No More. We had written it at one tempo, and then when we went to record it, because if we recorded it at the tempo it was written at, it was going to be like a 6-minute song, and we needed it to be like a 4-minute song.
Okay. Yeah.
So it got way faster, which is
Wow.
like, that's the type of shit you do. And I don't mean this as any offense, I mean this as a good thing, but like when you're 20 years old, you just do things differently.
Yeah.
Like, and that's how old I was. So
Oh yeah. And how did you find out about the Ergs? Considering that would kind of be the final song that we ever heard from BLA was a cover.
I love that song. I love that song so much, and I love the Ergs. Ergs were I was just really fortunately introduced to the Ergs by a ton of friends that were obsessed with their records, and then it just so happened that like the Ergs were also kind of they existed in this like kind of I don't know it's the exact word I want to use, but they were like adjacent to, you know, Jeff and Laura and, you know, Bomb and, you know, bands like the Measure SA and like the birth of Don Giovanni. Like the Ergs were just important. Screaming Females, that was another huge one when Castle Talk came out by Screaming Females. So the Ergs were always there, and yeah, they're just an incredible band to get into, and that song always hit. And that's a split with Lemuria, who had a huge influence on the latter like portion of BLA's career. Like we had all seen and played with Lemuria at that point. So yeah, there was a lot of personal connection to making that music sound really special, but also just like it's great punk rock that I think will last like forever. Like I think, I definitely wanted to cover that song because I think that song's really important. And I'm glad that I think we did a decent job, and I'm glad we did it.
Definitely, it's a great sounding cover. Also, chat. We're going to do some community questions a little bit later. I see your questions. I swear I'm not ignoring you guys. We've just got a few more questions left, you know. But to wrap up, I guess the brave little Abacus round of questions. What are Zach and Andrew up to now?
Andrew lives on this like awesome plot of land that him and his wife bought, and they have like dogs and pigs, and at one point they had chickens.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing, and we talk all the time, and I love them so much, and they're doing great. And Zach's doing great too. Zach's married as well, and Zach's living also in Massachusetts, but north of me, so we're like a little bit far away. Like we're all still in touch. It's like, you know, we all have a really good relationship, which I think a lot of fans of the band know because they follow like all of us on the internet and stuff. Yeah, Zach and his wife are awesome. Zach composes for like a lot of animated short films that I know there's like a Discord server for fans of Brave Old Abacus. Like I chime in on that every once in a while, say hi, and, you know, talk to the people on that. And I think they're all well aware, like Zach is in just a extraterrestrially talented composer, and the collaborations he's done so far in his career have all been just absolutely fucking gorgeous. Like if you want to listen to music that, you know, is the continuation of what you like about Brave Old Abacus, like, you know, me and Capris might not be it, but like Zach's compositions might be for you, and I highly recommend that people who like BLA like check that out. Yeah, and like Zach's gonna have a fucking baby. Like he's like they're expecting. Like, yeah, we're just getting old. That's what everyone's up to. We're getting there.
The band grew up.
Yeah.
And let's see. Okay, now for a little bit more of a shift, we're going on to some me and Capri questions. Don't have too many, but which, you know, what's been the main inspiration and kind of going for a bit of a stylistic change between BLA and me and Capris?
I definitely think that there's a few key factors. I mean, one that, you know, not to get too heavy, but, you know, the reality is when Brave Old Abacus ended, it wasn't just like Brave Old Abacus ending. I definitely didn't want to be in a band like anymore. Like it felt like a failed dream, and for like a lot of different reasons, it was like very complicated. And what kind of made me want to be in a band again was what an artist like Laura Stevenson was doing, what, you know, an artist like Jeff was doing. Also around that time, I got very, very into, simultaneously into The Replacements and Paul Westerberg. And I also started to really revisit the music of my youth and kind of what I loved about pop and rock music that I grew up with, and started to just kind of take a step back and slow down to try to compartmentalize what it is I wanted to do as a musician, what I wanted to enjoy as a musician, and what like my goals were. and simultaneously really having this long-term dream dating back even when Brave Abacus was a band. I was always in the wings talking to Chet, who plays lead guitar in me and Capris, and while BLA was a band, was in this awesome band Shire. We were always talking about starting a 2-guitar band. Like one day it would be like a thing that we did. And as that dream became a reality, it definitely aligned with, you get a little bit older and you start to think about like, what is it that I want to make? What is it that I want to say? And I think that's where I really blossomed into like, and I'm not saying I'm good at this. I'm just saying I started to care a lot more about songwriting than I did song making. And in Brave Abacus, I was obsessed with song making, for better or worse, for better and worse, I would say. And in me and Capris, I'm more concerned with songwriting. And I don't know. It's all... I like that there's such a yin and yang with it. I really appreciate that at this point. It's just who I am, so I can't comment on it that much. But yeah, that's kind of what happened. And I hope in me and Capri's upcoming material, hilariously, what's kind of occurred is there's something more in the middle. Like, and I'm very excited for people to hear that it's all what's really kind of starting to happen now is like me and Capri's is growing and changing. So I'm starting to hear things that I'm like, oh, that actually kind of reminds me of like something I would have written when I was 21 or something.
Yeah.
And so it's all coming together. But yeah, that's kind of the short version of what I think occurred,
Hell yeah. And that's fair. I mean, I remember when I first listened to me and Capris, it was probably 2018, 2019 maybe. I just remember thinking about the major shift. It's like I remember hearing Just Got Back from the Discomfort, and then a couple years later hearing For Those Who Think You, and just kind of being like, wow, are they Adam's a country band now?
Yeah.
But it's great shit, don't get me wrong. And how did me and Capris kind of come about?
Well, like I was just saying, Chet and I had always discussed this like kind of dream or idea of like having a 2-guitar band. Nick, who plays drums in me and Capris, played live drums in Brave Abacus for its last year. So that was really simple. And then Ian is one of my childhood best friends. Met him when I was 10. I've lived with him since I was 19. Literally, we've literally every apartment we've lived in together. And he was beginning to learn the bass, and it was just sort of like that's our band. And so we just started to discuss that, and some of the biggest differences between me and Capris and Brave Abacus is like me and Capris is a live band. Like we like rehearse technical stuff, like you know what I mean, like we practice like being a live band. Like Brave Abacus didn't do that. Like that's not something that we did, but we were all really interested in that. We were interested in developing like our craft. We all wanted to get better at what we were doing, and we really wanted to entertain in like a very live sense. And that's also kind of a thing that happened post BLA, which was like Brave Abacus records were most of the time a lot better than Brave Abacus shows. Like, a lot of Brave Abacus shows were fun, but it was definitely like an afterthought. And me and Capris is definitely the opposite. Yeah. Like we're like a live band. Oh, like I know that me and Capris is a band to see, and I get it. It's
for sure, and I could definitely see how that kind of comes together. There's a lot going on in Brave Little Abacus songs. Just generally, in a live setting, I could see how that wouldn't necessarily translate as well as a lot of the, kind of more down tempo songs of me and Capri that just sound like it would be better, if say you were rocking out in an arena, comparatively. And considering that for the most part we only have one thing to listen to, For Those That Thank You, how long did that take to kind of conceptualize and eventually come into fruition?
Well, we were like experimenting with we had played a couple of shows, and then we started to experiment with recording to 4-track cassette, and the record just kind of formed out of those experimentations, and I want to say it took like 6 months. Like it got released twice, which is really funny. We released it once in like 20 something
2015, I think.
Yeah, 2015, yeah. And then like we like remastered it and add some other stuff and like released it with a label in Boston called Disposable America. But yeah, it didn't take too long. Certainly not as long as what me and Capri's next release is taking, which has been years in the making. But
hell yeah,
that's okay.
And that's kind of the perfect segue into our last question that I have for you.
Okay.
What's the upcoming plans for me and Capri's?
I mean, some of the stuff is kind of secret, but I can definitely say with full certainty that new material is on the way, and we're just really excited to play shows again. I mean, a year without shows has really taken its toll on our band, as it has anyone else who finds themselves in the performing arts, because that's where we derive the vast majority of our self-worth, and without that, it's a little bit difficult to, function. So yeah, just really excited for that to occur. But yeah, new material.
New material on the way. You heard it here first, me and Capri's fans. Feelings Club, North Carolina, baby. Okay, so now I guess we're going to move on to some community questions. And these,
awesome,
for the large part, are unfiltered.
Okay.
Let's see. I think the first one we have would be from F-sharp, A-sharp Infinity. Classic name right there. What happened to Cat Dead Details Later?
I actually don't know. I know that, the two people who formed it definitely live in different places now. I think that the label definitely put other great releases out before and after Ukume, but I think that it was I think it did end at a certain point, probably in 2014 or something, just for life changes and things.
That's fair. And let's see, F-sharp, A-sharp Infinity. The next two questions are going to be by them. Okay. Weren't the tracks that went on Okume wrote a decent length of time before release?
Yeah, I would say so. They definitely were. Maybe a few months or a couple months. One thing that Brave Abacus did with Ukume that was a little different than we had done in the past, which is kind of interesting, is we like arranged all those tracks like in person, like non-recording, like being like, this is the way the guitar and the keyboard and the bass all interact, like in a real just like jamming setting, which is hilariously like more similar to how me and Capri's music is made. So that, I guess that was just like a natural progression. But yeah, I think you're right about that. It was definitely a couple of months.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
And the next question from F-sharp, A-sharp Infinity. We've got a nice Godspeed mark in here. I remember AD, I'm assuming that's you, saying he wanted to start releasing music under the Okume pseudonym. Is that something you'd even consider doing now?
Yeah, I've always had this like dream that instead of doing like a reunion type of thing with Brave Abacus, because that concerns a lot of like marketing, which I think is like really fucking like insidious and weird. I think it would be cooler to hang out with Zach and Andrew, and like we definitely at some point, multiple points, have like toyed around with the idea of like, well, we could make new music and just call it Ukume, and like kind of do the like microphones Mount Erie thing. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever Brave Abacus ever wants to do with its future, I just want it to be fun, and I want it to be captivating and exciting. And too many like bands that reunite because the internet starts liking them posthumously feel more like they're like a YouTube sponsored ad for like a fucking
for like Pitchfork Fest.
Yeah, I don't know. I just am not. I don't know. I feel like people who follow me on the internet know me well enough to know now that like I don't. I just don't really do that shit.
Yeah,
It's like I don't know.
that's fair. That's
Not
fair.
not my thing.
And next we have New Pantera with 2 questions. I'm gonna string them together.
There's new Pantera.
There's a new Pantera. My question is, Adam, will we play a show together before I'm 35?
How old is new Pantera now? Like, what's the timeline that we're talking?
What's the length of time New Pantera? And while we're waiting on that answer, also, when is the 3rd release of For Those Who Thank You with even more tracks?
Hopefully soon. I want to do that. I think that's really funny. I think I think there should be a post-vaccination specific like deluxe cassette release of For Those Who Thank You featuring 3 more tracks. And I appreciate that question.
The post-vaccine deluxe edition. That's hell yeah. I'm waiting on New Pantera to answer this.
Well, I'm just gonna say yes because I think that like I'm so into there being new Pantera. I really like. There's a lot of Pantera I love, and there's some Pantera I really don't love. But I love that username, and I'm just gonna say, yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna play a show together.
You heard it here, New Pantera. Clip this, and you'll have it forever.
Unless you're a member of 21 Pilots, I don't like that band. So like, I don't. If New Pantera is secretly the drummer of 21 Pilots, I'm gonna have to say we probably won't play a show together.
Hell yeah. We're gonna start some 21 Pilots, me and Capris beef right now.
That's just the band that came to mind. I don't know. New Pantera, DM me. We'll figure something out.
That's fair. Okay, we've just got 2 more community questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna cut off the chat questions after this, unless you want to get in. Oh, he's in 22 Pilots, he said. Or, sorry, they. I didn't mean to assume there. But Happiness Jones says, 1 thing on your musical bucket list.
Musical bucket list is playing a fucking show with 22 Pilots. Can I get a hell yeah in the chat?
Hell yeah.
No, my musical bucket list is definitely I would like to I want to have more opportunities in the future to play music with people I look up to. I feel like that's something that I've been able to accomplish to a certain point so far, but I want that to continue just because I feel like I gained so much and I learned so much. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what yet. Oh, that reminds me of a shout out. Musical bucket list is hanging out with Paranewel.
Oh shit! Hell yeah!
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
like I would love to like talk to Paranewel.
Yeah.
That's like that, but that's the type of thing. Like my musical bucket list. It usually revolves around that. It's like I'd really at some point like I'd really like to be in a room with like this producer or like this songwriter, and because I just want to hang out with them. In the same way that I just want to hang out with like wrestlers, you know, it's like all the same.
Definitely.
But yeah, other than that, you know, I can't really think of anything too particular. Definitely to own like a Rickenbacker 12 string at some point.
Hell yeah. Definitely shout out to Paranewel though. I tried to get them for an interview, but they're a little busy with college right now, they say.
Okay.
Has Adam Demirjian listened to Sweet Trip? If so, did you hear the album that came out today?
I did. So I meant to listen to the Sweet Trip record today. I really like Sweet Trip. I'm excited to listen to the new record. I didn't listen to the new record because I had some other new releases that I wanted to spend some time with. I'm very excited to listen to the new Sweet Trip record. That band is terrific. Absolutely. All their output up until now I've enjoyed. And so once I saw that there was a release today, also shout out to Jesse, who has been doing interviews on Rate Your Music. They did an incredible interview with Paranewel that was like I like mind blowing for me because I listened to every single one of their musical recommendations and I'm still digging through those records. But they did a great interview with Sweet Trip that I read on my commute like a couple weeks ago or a week ago or something. That got me psyched for the new record. So I'll probably listen to the new Sweet Trip tomorrow. I'm excited.
Yeah. I listened to it at midnight. I gotta say, shout out to Valerie and Robbie. If you guys haven't seen the Sweet Trip interview I did, go check it out on YouTube. It's a fun little time. But also go tell them that you like the record on Instagram. They usually are very good at replying to fans. Yeah, God, I love Sweet Trip so much. Anyways,
Hell yeah.
What is AD's? I'm gonna start calling you AD. What's AD's favorite Parannoul track?
It was definitely Analog Sentimentalism for weeks, but then I did get very obsessed with the closer. I can feel my heart touching you, I want to say it's called.
Yeah.
So at this very moment, because like there was like 10 days where like every day on my break, the first thing I would do is just put on my headphones and put that song on. Just like for so many days in a row. Because I couldn't believe it was real. Which was my experience with Analog Sentimentalism when the record first came out. I couldn't believe that song was real. But now I've moved on to not believing that the last track on the record is real. Because the groove's so good, and there's this chord. I actually have I probably have it on like my notes. Because I took note of it the other day on my break. Maybe I can find this. I'm just going to search the word chord.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I did take a note of this. Yeah. So in I Can Feel My Heart Touching You, there's one chord that occurs only at, I believe the only time that this one chord occurs is at 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And all I'm going to say is that's my shit.
That chord is AD's shit.
It's my shit.
Hell yeah. And let's see. But isn't Parannoul a solo project? Yes, I believe it's a college student's project, which is absolutely insane to me. Oh yeah, one more question. Did AD see the nod given to him by Parannoul in his interview, and how did it make him feel?
I did. That fucks me up because the record is really good and really important to me. So I feel pretty crazy that that person has listened to anything I've ever done, and that's why I want to hang out.
Hell yeah.
I think it would just be good if we we're just like, I don't know. I can imagine. So one day, I don't know if Parannoul likes like clanging beers, but I could totally imagine just like having a beer with Parannoul and listening to like Skylarking by XTC. Like that's what I picture happening. Like we would just be hanging out, we'd clang a beer, we'd throw on Skylarking by XTC, and we would just be like, this rocks. And then it would be like, you rock. And it would just be like, this rocks. That's what I imagine happening. So maybe one day, you know.
Hell yeah. Hopefully we can make dreams come into fruition for you. Okume and Parannoul win. That would be a dream collab right there. And let's see. I collected some community questions from the Instagram earlier. There's my proof.
Okay.
JJ Bop, who's also in a wonderful band called Convalescence, based out of Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay.
What happened to Brave Little Abacus? That's a terrible question. I should have read this before I said it. I'm sorry.
I'll just answer this. It ended.
It ended. Yeah. Classic. Okay, let's see. There's a good one from Corbo Joneso, or Happiness Jones in the chat. Thanks for the moderation. If you had to make a super band between a person each from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and now, whomst?
All right. Whoa. Okay. I'm going to try to go as fast as I can here. We're going to have, from the 80s, we're going to have, oh my God. We're going to have Phil Collins on drums and backup vocals. In the 90s, we're going to have Liz Phair playing rhythm guitar and doing vocals. And in the 2000s, we're going to have... Oh, shit. who's gonna match with that pair? We need a bass and a vocalist. So, all right, we're gonna throw Mark Hoppus in there, and we're gonna call Mark Hoppus the 2000s because you have Take Off Your Pants and Jacket and the self-titled, so that works for me. And then wait, do I get to add a fourth from the 2010s?
Yeah, from now.
Okay, so from the 2010s, my fourth member is going to be we're gonna throw Kendrick Lamar fronting the whole thing.
Okay, hell yeah, that's a super band for sure.
Yeah. So it's gonna groove because we got Phil Collins on the tubs, and we've got Liz having really interesting chord structures and harmony vocals, and Hoppus just laying down the low end.
Hell yeah.
And then Kendrick is one of the greatest writers of all time, so I think it's all gonna work out. And I tried to do that very fast, so I don't know. That's what I got.
The band sounds great. Honestly, that's kind of a dream lineup right there.
It's a sick question. Props to that question.
Let's see. We've got two more. Oi. Oh yeah, Esteban says, what age did you get Final Fantasy VII? And what age did you beat it? What's your story with Final Fantasy VII?
I got Final Fantasy VII when I was in the 3rd grade, which would have been a couple of years after it came out, because I was a little bit late to the PS1s. My first PlayStation was the mini PS1. So I didn't get FF7 when it like came out. So I was in 3rd grade, and it was a couple years after it had come out. And I played as far as like the 2nd disc probably 10 times between the 3rd grade and 8th grade. And then it was my freshman year of high school that I finally beat FF7. And then I've proceeded to play FF7 about once every 2 years, front to back, since then.
Hell yeah. It's a classic game. Didn't it just get a remaster, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, I got a remake that hilariously was announced when I was like in high school, and I wondered what it would be like when it would finally happen for years, and then it happened when COVID-19 happened. So it was kind of perfect. So I bought it, and I didn't have a job, and I was able to play it.
Hell yeah. And let's see. Shout out to Nico. He didn't have a question. He just thought it was insane that we were getting to talk. Wonderful.
That sounds cool.
This is our last question from Unduke, another artist out of fucking Durham, North Carolina. Also, Happiness Jones makes his own music too. Go check that shit out. Won't be able to see this because I'm moving. Hope it's going well. But what's your favorite pedal/guitar or both?
Good question. My favorite, well, I'm going to answer it two-parter. My favorite pedal of all time is definitely the Ibanez Tube Screamer, just because it's the most, like, the single most reliable, like, and important pedal to me. Mm-hmm. But in terms of not, like, a super reliable one, definitely the Electro Harmonix Deluxe Memory Man. That is, like, an instrument in and of itself. Like, I feel very fortunate to have one. I got one really cheap at a young age, and I've just held on to it like crazy. I think it's like the greatest delay ever made, and it just is insane. But yeah, Tube Screamer is usually my go-to answer, just because it's the formation of like every guitar thing I do is just like it involves it. I think it's just a really special thing, especially if you have a good one, because they're all a little different. Favorite guitar? I gotta say it's my PRS Mira that I split in half at a Me and Capris show on multiple occasions, and every time you rebuild it, it's just fine.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that guitar is very magic, and it won't die. So, I mean, yeah. I like other guitars. I like my Tele. I have a Jaguar that I really like, but my weird big mahogany PRS with a bunch of stickers on it literally did this to it at a Me and Capris show.
Damn.
Went to bend the neck, and it just hit the other side. So.
Hell yeah. I mean, as long as it's reliable.
Yeah, just glue it back together, baby. It's good.
It's good to go. Well, shit. It's been an absolutely wonderful evening with Adam Demirjian. It's been wonderful. We have some beautiful people in chat. We had a beautiful person to talk with this afternoon. Everybody say, uh, everybody say bye, Adam. But we're not leaving just yet. Before we get off, I'd like to shout out me and Capris and Brave Little Abacus. Of course, Adam for even agreeing to do this. Absolutely wonderful.
It was fun.
Thanks, Zion, for getting us together. That was pretty cool. I believe... Oh, yeah, throw all the money you can at Adam, by the way, so we can get the Me and Capri record a little bit quicker. It's struggling times during this pandemic.
There's money involved?
There's money involved. Throw all the money you can at Adam Demirjian. If you haven't checked out Feelings Club, feel free to do that. We're on all streaming services. The @ right up there is our pretty much our tag for everything. And yeah, you have any parting words you'd like to say, Adam?
I just want to thank everyone for hanging out. I want to thank you, Chris, for getting in touch and being kind enough to have me on and talk shop on some old and current stuff. And it's always a blast. I never want to take any of this for granted. It's I feel genuinely blessed that anyone's ever listened to stuff I make, and I hope people will continue to, and I'm excited to put out more. So that's all I got.
Hell yeah. I was honestly hoping you were going to give us a bit of a heel turn right there, but maybe we'll get that in another day.
No, all baby today. All baby.
All baby. Hell yeah. Well, I guess this is where we end the stream. It was nice talking to you guys. Me and Capri, Brave Little Abacus, stream everything they've ever done. Throw your money at Adam. Goodbye.